WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City, a town square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is 97.3 ESPN. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
Oh, what a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea City. Yes, I am not in the Matt Black Kia Studios. I am still live down here in Florida. We are at the Seminole Hard Rock for the PFL Championships. They got me set up here in a side room right next to Hard Rock Live. So glad to be here hanging out with you guys here on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Busy show today. Sixers back in action tonight. Kevin McCormick, Sixers beat writer, will join us coming up at 6:40 tonight. Sixers are in Madison Square Garden tonight, taking on the New York Knicks. So no home game for the Sixers. Still on the road. Got the Knicks tonight. And of course, you can hear all the action. Tom McGinnis on the call right here on your home for Eagles football, 97.3 ESPN. Also, we will re-bring it back for you, my interview with Chris Wade. He is fighting for the PFL Featherweight 2021 championship of their season. He is in the Featherweight finals. But before we get to anything else, we got to start with the Eagles, because as I wrote over at 973ESPN.com last night, Nick Sirianni, he's just talking at this point. He's just saying stuff. And today, there's a huge contrast between what Sirianni said yesterday and what Gannon was saying today. All right? Jonathan Gannon sounds like a man who at least takes some personal accountability responsibility. Nick Sirianni sounds like a guy who just rambles. And you can tell him what you think. Text into the show, 609-403-0973. That's 609-403-0973 to get on the conversation. We're also live on YouTube and Twitter at 973 ESPN. I want to read you the difference between what Sirianni said last night in his delayed press conference and what Jonathan Gannon told the media today. Because there's a huge difference, a massive difference. Think about what Sirianni said last night. Okay? I'm going to read you something that Sirianni said. And of course, you can check out all the quotes over at 973ESPN.com. When Nick Sirianni was asked about the game on Sunday, this is what he said, quote, "Obviously, losing a game is never acceptable. We always are going to go through and we're going to correct the game the same way, regardless if we're 5-2 or 2-5. Timeout. You should never do the same exact thing if you're winning or losing. Never. You don't need to treat them the same. You have to take everything on a case-by-case basis. Let me ask you a question. Whatever your job is, okay? Think about your job, your daily job. If you have a bad day at work, or you make a mistake at work, or something goes wrong at work, do you do the same exact thing the next day? No. You have to change something, right? You, as a responsible adult, if you make a mistake, you have to make an adjustment. Now, maybe your process is the same, but you don't do everything the same. For Sirianni to say, we're going to correct the game the same way, regardless if we're 5-2 or 2-5, shows you how oblivious he is. Now, compare that to what Jonathan Gannon said today. Jonathan Gannon, the defensive coordinator, the same coordinator that Nick Sirianni threw under the bus. This is what Gannon had to say, quote, We came out the game, said the ball didn't hit the ground. That tells me we've got to challenge a little bit more. That's within the, hey, this is our Rolodex of coverages, how we want to play, what we need to get done. I need to change some coverages up. That's Gannon. He goes on to say, get a little bit tighter, get closer to people, close windows, pre-snap disguise, post-snap disguise. What are we doing with coverages? That needs to get corrected because it's hard to play winning football when the ball doesn't hit the ground. That's the D coordinator. The head coach says, hey guys, we need to do the same exact thing still. No, you don't do the same exact thing. Here's the problem, Nick Sirianni. You're oblivious. You're clueless. You don't get it. Nick Sirianni thinks that he is infallible and he is flawless. Nick Sirianni doesn't get it. His coordinator does. Jonathan Gannon gets it. Jonathan Gannon, I'm going to read you this again. This is amazing. This dude says, I got to do a better job. And then he tells you what he has to do better. What a concept. What a concept. Gannon said, quote, I need to change some coverages up. And then he goes on to explain it. Pre-snap disguise, post-snap disguise. What are we doing with the coverages? That needs to get corrected. What does Nick Sirianni say to the media last night? This is Nick Sirianni now, quote, we are always going to go through and we're going to correct the game the same way regardless if we're 5-2 or 2-5. Sirianni went on to say, we've talked about accountability a lot. Accountability is not only making corrections, right? It's also pointing out when things are done right as well. It goes both ways, unquote. Sirianni doesn't get it. Now, I don't know if that's an inexperience thing. I don't know if that's a maturity thing. I don't know if that's because Sirianni thinks that he's infallible. I don't know what the reason is. But Sirianni doesn't get it. And by the way, let's not forget, this is the same coach who threw his coordinator, Jonathan Gannon, under the bus and didn't backtrack. Nick Sirianni said about the Eagles' defense in a very passive-aggressive way, quote, when he was asked about losing the game, I felt it was a lack of possession. This is Sirianni talking. This is the ultimate team game. We got to get the ball back from our defense to our offense. It felt a little out of rhythm because of the lack of possessions. Whoa. You're telling me it couldn't be because, I don't know, Nick, that you called a bad game, that you put your quarterback in a bad position, that you didn't change protections when you saw Yannick Ngakoue blowing up the offensive line? What did you think was going on, Nick? See, this is the problem that we have in the world of sports today. Some of these people think that they are above the rules. They think they're infallible. They think they know it all. They think they got it all figured out. And they don't. The moment you think you know everything, you know nothing. Josh Hennig here on GameNight on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free thanks to First Bank of Sea City, live down here at the Seminole Hard Rock Casino here in Hollywood, Florida. PFL Championships tomorrow night. Coverage begins on ESPN Plus and the main card on ESPN2. We'll replay my interview with Chris Wade, finalist for the featherweight title tomorrow night. Coming up in a few minutes. Also, we'll preview the Sixers game tonight with Kevin McCormick, Sixers beat writer here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. You can text into the show. Text board 609-403-0973. Also, we are live on YouTube and Twitter at 973 ESPN. I see a couple messages coming in. We'll get to Franklin in just a moment. But first, on the text board, message from Mike in Ocean City. Says Sirianni is no better than Rich Kotite. People were complaining about Doug Peterson. People didn't like Andy Reid's clock management. Sirianni is awful. The worst play calling, adapting coach I've ever seen in my life. That's from Mike at Ocean City. Hey, Mike, I can't disagree. Listen, people forget that Rich Kotite took over Buddy Ryan's team. That wasn't Rich Kotite's players. That was Buddy Ryan's dudes. And Rich Kotite slid right in there to take over that job. And for at least a little bit of time, they were able to stabilize. But just like Chip Kelly, who took over for Andy Reid's players, it only lasts for so long. I'm starting to wonder, is this like Chip Kelly? Is this like Rich Kotite? It's a great point by Mike at Ocean City. Did Nick Sirianni come in and take over for somebody else's guys? It's certainly very possible. Over on the YouTube channel at 973 ESPN. Franklin says Sirianni and Gannon on hot seat watch. They certainly are. They certainly are on the hot seat. And honestly, they should be. Listen, you can't have that kind of performance out there and not be on the hot seat. Like I said, in the world of sports, you have to take responsibility for your actions. Listen, I'm over here at the PFL. If a fighter makes a mistake, they lose. Make the wrong movement on the ground, they get submitted. Make the wrong move in a striking exchange, they get knocked out. But apparently a football coach thinks losing a game means that he doesn't have to change anything. And he can just throw the defense under the bus. That's a high level of ego, folks. That's a high level of naivete. Josh Hennig here on GameNight on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. And of course, GameNight being brought to my friends over at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Bally's Casino in Atlantic City. Bet all the action style this football season at the state-of-the-art FanDuel Sportsbook just off the boardwalk at Atlantic City Bally's Hotel and Casino. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Coming up next, we'll play back my interview with Chris Wade. He is fighting tomorrow night on the PFL Championships for $1 million on the line. You'll hear from him. And then a little bit later, we will preview Sixers versus Knicks tonight. You can hear all the action starting at 7:30. But before that, we'll talk with Sixers beat writer Kevin McCormick right here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. We are live on YouTube and Twitter at 973 ESPN. I'm Josh Hennig, and this is Game Night. Oh, trust me, this mic can't pick up anything except for what's right in front of me, so you're good. Anything you guys are doing, nobody can hear you. They can't even hear this TV behind me. This mic looks like very simple. This is one of those mics that's like a crazy processor in it. So
Process away.
I'm literally running an entire radio show sitting here. So
I appreciate that.
it's a dirty job, but someone's got to do it. Yeah, I was just worried that I was going to be in your guys' way.
Nope, you're good. That's what I was reading. I'm bugging. Apparently this whole thing went away.
Okay. So basically, get all set up for nothing.
For nothing. We do that a lot. You go right there. Check 'em out. There it is.
Well, I hope you get paid well to set up for nothing. Okay.
This was $1,000 just to do that. Just now. Dude, I get paid no matter if they do it or not. So,
Well, that's all that matters, right?
that was $1,000 for me right there. Just I'm doing that. I tell my kids I get paid if the Patriots win or lose. Doesn't matter. I just go shoot the game.
I'm in the same boat. I get paid no matter if a team wins or loses. I still have to talk about it.
Talk about it.
So I got to write about it. So I got to talk about it. So I got to cover it. Josh Hennig back here on Game Night 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN Mobile. Again, the PFL Championships tomorrow night. ESPN Plus starts all the action. ESPN2, of course, 6 $1 million contracts, checks on the line. Each winner of their season, each weight class, Chris being a featherweight, gets $1 million as well as winning the regular season championship. Coming up next, we'll transition to the Sixers. Sixers are back in action at Madison Square Garden. Of course, you hear all the action at 7:30 p.m. today on 97.3 ESPN. Kevin McCormick, Sixers beat writer, joins us next right here on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. Josh Hennig back here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Not in the Matt Black Kia studios, still down here in Florida for the PFL Championships. Of course, Wednesday night, ESPN Plus, ESPN 2 to catch all the action. Great talk with Chris Wade. A lot of great insights from him as he gets ready to fight. I actually just saw him before I came back here. He's feeling great. His weight cut was successful, and he's going to go for that $1 million check. Joining us right now to talk about the 76ers, who are in New York tonight to play the Knicks. Kevin McCormick joins us. I'm going to get it right this time. Clutch Points is the site, the app that he now writes for. Kevin, how you doing today?
Josh, I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, man. So let's talk about this Sixers team because let's be realistic. Friday night, they should have won the game. They let that one slip away. But they came back with 17 three-pointers against OKC. I know everyone was talking about Seth Curry on the broadcast. I felt like, no offense to the broadcasters, Ala and Kate Scott, but they mentioned Seth 100 times. But the team hit 17 threes. So was it encouraging to you, Kevin, saying, look, you lost the game Friday, you should have won, but you came back with a strong performance the next game?
Yeah, I think it just is a testament to the fight within this team. It's very easy, I think, especially early on in the year when you have kind of a late game collapse like that you might come out sluggish and might still have it on your mind into the next game. But I think it was very good that they were able to kind of just compartmentalize, put what happened on Friday beside them, and get back on track on Sunday in the win against OKC.
When you think about this team, obviously no Ben Simmons, so the look of them is different than last year. Do you think what you've seen so far from them is sustainable winning?
I think so. I think just because when you have a guy like Joel Embiid, obviously you're still going to be a more than competitive team. Not to mention, this is kind of the first actual glimpse we've seen of an offense fully centered around Joel Embiid. You talk about the three-point performance on Sunday. That is a big component of that, of now having an extra player on the floor that can get some shots up from deep. It opens up the floor even more. Obviously, you mentioned Seth Curry, that the two-man game between them continues to grow, and just the fact that Joel Embiid's kind of become this Swiss Army knife guy and is doing everything on both ends of the floor. I think so far through 3 games, it's very easy to say that the way they've been playing and how everything's running through Embiid is definitely sustainable moving forward.
You mentioned Seth Curry in the two-man game. But what's also interesting to me is the fact it's like there's this dynamic right now with Maxey, with Seth, with Danny, with Joel, with Tobias. It feels like having Maxey in there has actually maybe gone better than people expected.
Absolutely. I also think it's a testament to how Doc Rivers has adapted to life without Ben Simmons. It got talked about a little bit during training camp. We saw through the preseason of Doc Rivers said it was going to be a by committee thing, and that, no one guy was going to be able to take on what Ben Simmons took on, obviously, because he's an elite facilitator and what he does. So the fact that the Sixers have kind of embraced this ball movement heavy style, this Spurs or Warriors-esque type of play where the ball is constantly moving and everybody has it in their hands and is being decision makers, I think definitely has softened that blow. And like you said, having that dynamic, while it might not be what we're accustomed to seeing, it definitely is something that has been a positive thus far, especially when you are inserting a guy like Maxey who might not be labeled a traditional point guard.
Kevin McCormick joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle City. Follow him on Twitter for all your Sixers and NBA coverage at Kevin MCC NBA. Sixers Knicks tonight at 7:30 p.m. right here on your home for Sixers basketball in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN FM. I mentioned Tobias. In the loss, people overlooked that Tobias actually. I think he did a better job defensively. People give him credit for. I think Tobias has really grown as an all-around player. And, in opening night, he had the huge rebounding night, right? The opening night of the season against the Pelicans. Friday night, I think that people forget he's playing one of the best players on planet Earth in Kevin Durant. I mean, no one's stopping Kevin Durant. I don't care. I mean, Giannis tried to stop Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant was still scoring on him in the playoffs last year. So, but I think that it's so important. Talk to you about this before. Tobias Harris's growth. What have you seen from Tobias Harris over the first 3 games?
I think it's just more of the Tobias Harris that we saw last year. We're seeing that last year was not this, I guess, fluky year. Not that anybody ever thought that it was, but last year we saw a new and improved version of Tobias Harris. And I think through 3 games, we're starting to see that this iteration of him is here to stay. Like you said, he continues to grow. I think Doc Rivers always talks about him making quick decisions with the ball. And when he continues to stick with that, he is very effective. I think the biggest thing of what happened against the Brooklyn Nets was Tobias Harris essentially went toe-to-toe with Kevin Durant. And like you said, Kevin Durant, one of the best 5 players on the planet right now, has been on an absolute tear to start this season. And when you look at the box score, while Tobias Harris didn't have a triple-double like Kevin Durant, they were basically going blow for blow offensively. So I think seeing that Tobias Harris can continue to elevate his game, he's still shooting effectively, like you said. He's doing it all, grabbing rebounds, helping with the facilitation, and just showing that he can still be that reliable number 2 next to Embiid that we saw last year.
I got to ask you about Korkmaz because, Mike Gill brought up on the Sports Bash the fact that this is a guy who does play the point for his home country. So it's not like he's unfamiliar with that backup point guard position. But I got to be honest, Kevin, I didn't expect this. I think Korkmaz has played way better at that facilitator. I don't need to just be a catch and shoot guy. Way better than I personally expected. What have your observations have been of Korkmaz playing that role now?
I'm in that camp with you. I feel like actually most people are in that camp with you, that when Doc Rivers first said that Furkan Korkmaz was essentially going to become that backup point guard, most people might have rolled their eyes, but Furkan's been amazing through it. Like you said, he's been able to find that nice balance of, when to score, when to facilitate. In previous years, I think his highest assist per game total was 1.7 for a whole season. Right now, he's averaging over 3, which is great to see. And just what he brings offensively, I think putting him in more positions to showcase what he can do offensively has worked great. We saw it against New Orleans in the season opener where he scored 18 in the 4th quarter, just putting him in the pick and roll with Andre Drummond, allowing him to make decisions, having a guy like Drummond who can create so much space because he's just a bruiser of a center, has opened Korkmaz's 3-point shot as well. So I'm with you. I think the point guard Furk experiment definitely has shattered expectations and is now a look that Doc Rivers might go to more moving forward, even when Shake Milton returns from injury.
Wait, I'm going to follow up on that real quick here because you just said go to moving forward. Moving forward also includes the Ben Simmons stuff, right? Whether Simmons comes back or not, we don't know. But is there a possibility that, if Simmons comes back or you have a situation, let's say, where you trade Simmons and you get a primary ball handler, let's say. I'm just throwing out some scenarios. Is there a possibility that then maybe Maxey comes off the bench with Korkmaz and then you have 2 ball handlers now in the backcourt? Because to me, that could be very dangerous for other teams.
Exactly. I think you hit it right on the nose that whatever happens with Ben Simmons and Tyrese Maxey eventually does go back to the bench. I think all it does is add another element. Obviously, in today's game, look back at a team like the Atlanta Hawks. Part of what made them so effective in the postseason was just that they had so many guys in their starting lineup and off the bench who could put the ball on the floor, create some offense in small samples, or just be decision makers. So I think seeing Korkmaz on tap, this new level to his game, only makes that second unit more dangerous because then you'll have Tyrese Maxey, you'll have Shake Milton, and you'll have Furkan Korkmaz, all guys who can initiate the offense, all guys who can create a little bit, and it takes ball pressure off the other. So you're not putting too much of a load on one guy. So I think all it does is just make life easier for that second unit.
Follow him on Twitter at KevinMCCNBA for all your Sixers and NBA coverage. Covers the 76ers for Clutch Points, the Clutch Points app. Joining us right here, Kevin McCormick on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Kevin, 2 more things before I let you go. I mentioned Ben Simmons. Things are quiet on that front. Do you expect them to stay quiet? Do you think that we might get some more clarity on the situation at some point, maybe this week?
I don't know about this week, but obviously I think things are quieting down just because stuff is slowly starting to trend in a positive direction. Obviously, we got the news last Friday that Ben Simmons addressed the team during shoot around. While granted, he said that he still wasn't mentally ready to rejoin the team, at least he's taken that step to begin to talk to people. Daryl Morey stopped finding Ben Simmons. Rona Shelbourne of ESPN reported that a couple days ago. So it just feels like all the talk and the chatter of that situation is that things have just been good for the group. It feels like the environment itself is still positive. And while, this thing is not going to change overnight, it feels like we are starting to see the real, I would say, early steps of what could be a potential change of heart.
Change of heart for Ben or change of heart for what Daryl Morey plans to do? Because I don't know, like, really quick, does Daryl Morey maybe become less incentivized to trade him to try to get him on the floor? Does Ben maybe become more invested in trying to get back on the floor? Which do you think is more likely?
At this point, I feel like the more focus is just getting him on the court. It's still too tough to say if Simmons will ever take back that trade request. So I just feel like the moral of it is that Ben Simmons will have to accept that even if he wants to be moved, that Daryl Morey is not going to move him for anything unless a deal becomes available that puts the Sixers in a better position to contend for a title. He will be in a Sixers uniform. So I think it's just the more change of heart of Ben Simmons accepting that and willing to conduct his business professionally and still rejoin the team on the court and play in games while business is still conducted behind the scenes.
Yeah, because my position, Kevin, has been Ben Simmons getting back on the court is a sign to teams that he is valued and he is valuable. It increases his value. Right now, Ben is damaged goods. How can you trade for a guy who can't even get on the court, right?
Exactly. Yes, I think if Ben Simmons still does want to trade, accepting that it might take him rejoining the team and playing in games to remind everybody of the special talent that he is, gets him a step closer to what he wants. It's more of just getting through that mental block of, whatever is going on with him right now behind the scenes to get him in a position to where he feels comfortable playing in games again for the Sixers. Like I said, while Daryl Morey continues to wait for that deal to arise that ups the Sixers' chances of contending for a championship.
Well, right now, part of contending for that championship starts with tonight. Knicks in Madison Square Garden, 7:30 p.m. Sixers basketball here on 97.3 ESPN. Give him a follow on Twitter at KevinMCCNBA for your Sixers and NBA coverage, covering the 76ers for Clutch Points in the Clutch Points app. Former Sixers writer for 97.3 ESPN.com, Kevin McCormick. Glad to have you back on board, Kevin. Enjoy the game tonight, and we'll catch up soon.
Sounds great, Josh. You enjoy Florida.
I'm doing my best. I'm mostly indoors. Kevin McCormick joined us right here. You saw him on the live stream at 973 ESPN on YouTube, Twitter. Yes, I'm not in the Matt Black Kia studios. For those who may be turning in a little bit late, I am down here this week for the PFL MMA finals. Of course, 6 belts are on the line tomorrow night. ESPN Plus is where all the prelims start. The main card on ESPN2. 6 winners tomorrow night will win $1 million each. So really quick, before we get out of here, a couple things to do a little housekeeping here. So Sixers basketball tonight, 7:30 on 97.3 ESPN FM. Sixers playing the Knicks. Sports Bash back tomorrow with Mike Gill at 2 p.m. here on 97.3. I will not be on the air tomorrow night. I will be covering the PFL. I will be here all night at the Seminole Hard Rock down here in Hollywood, Florida. And I'll be back on the air on Thursday here on 97.3 ESPN FM. I hope everyone enjoyed my conversation with Chris Wade, who's a finalist for the PFL featherweight season finale tomorrow night. Also, Kayla Harrison, defending champion from the 2019 Women's Championship season, Olympic champion. She will be on the card tomorrow night as well. Also, Ray Cooper versus Magomed Kirimov. Incredible fight card. If you like any type of fighting, I highly encourage you to check out ESPN Plus, ESPN2. I'll be in the house tomorrow night, and I'll be back Thursday here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle City. Have a great day, everybody, and I will see you all on Thursday.